Hi, Megan, can you hear me? Megan? Oh, maybe she's not in there.
Sometimes you wait.
You're not. So can we go to chants? I'll be late for the CYMA chant.
You can leave early.
So there's 11:30 to 1, so I'll be a little late because our thing starts at 1. I might be like 10, 15 minutes late, or I can leave early, doesn't matter.
You can leave early, I think.
Yeah, can you have your collaborative meeting at 1, so we'll.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Glad this is working. We had some technical issues the last time. Sarah and Sarah, I think I'm gonna make you move over there so the camera can actually see you. We only had 3 people. Oh, that's why. There you go.
Hey, Sandra, this is Erin.
My arm.
How's it going?
Hey, it's going well, thanks. I'm the 317 number, if that's what it's showing up as.
Yep, I was wondering who that was.
Cool.
Yeah, so I think there might have, I wasn't sure that we had included an invite when, like, where we were meeting in person. So,
I'm sorry. Ooh, yeah, go.
I don't, sorry, I don't think it was in the invite where we were meeting, so, we only have 3 people in person here today. I think Tim Brown was gonna join us. But I did, just wanna let everybody know moving forward, we'll do it a hybrid if you choose to join us in person. Yes, please. We'll give people a little bit, like here, another couple minutes to log in, and then we can get started.
We should take these chairs back to the office.
They are very nice chairs.
You wanna lean back in it?
I'm just gonna have to stay up here the whole meeting. The cable doesn't go very far, so that's fine.
This would be a mess.
Let's get started.
Yes.
All right. Well, Tim might still join us later, but we can get started. Sarah, would you take notes for me? We'll have Sarah Connor help us take notes, just about the things that we'll be talking about. Let's see. Billy was still waiting for the ALS interpreter. Billy, did he join in? Did they join in? I don't see anyone in the waiting area. And then Tiffany said that she doesn't have a mic. So Tiffany, if you have anything to contribute, we can, you can just type it in and I will do my best to keep track of the chats. I don't see anyone in the waiting area. So. All right, well, we can get started with some introductions. Do we have any new members that haven't been to one of our Respite Coalition meetings? We have Sarah Hefner here joining us today. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Sarah Hefner with Hilltop. I am the Community Access Manager. So I have the joy of working with these ADRC teammates of mine, and I'm here to learn quite a bit from all the work they've been doing.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah.
You can't see it, but here's my hand. That's okay. I'm Sarah Connor and I'm one of the ADRC options counselors. There you go.
There she is.
Hello.
We found her. Perfect. Do we have any other new participants?
Yes, my name is Amanda Hellier. I'm an RN with People Care Health Services, and I'm also a parent caregiver of a child with special needs.
Thank you for joining us today. Anyone else?
I'm Corey Stroud and I'm with People Care Health Services and I'm a care coordinator in the North Fork area.
Thank you. I had received a out of office email for someone with People Care. Are you replacing them or are you aware of anything like that?
That could be from our area manager. I know she's been ill. Is it a Miranda?
Let me double check. Yep, Miranda.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a few representatives from People Care, I believe, on here. Myself and Kim Williams and Amanda are here.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that we have more than one representative since People Care covers such a big area. So thank you so much for joining us. And then we also have Tiffany Wall. I think that's a lie, Tiffany. Oh no, you were not on the very original one. You had a different person stand in for you in our very first meeting. So this is Tiffany's very first meeting with the Respite Coalition. Since she can't talk, I'm going to talk for her. Tiffany Wall used to be an options counselor with ADRC. Then she went to get her master's in social work and now works as a social work case manager at St. Mary's. And but she was very involved with the Respite Coalition while she was at ADRC. Perfect. Anyone else? Perfect. We'll get started. Since we're not, Erin, did you have something to say?
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to say hi to everybody, and I'm so excited about all of the people from People Care. And I would be so curious to know the new people, how they found out about the meeting, like if any of my promotion is working.
Sure, like let's ask them. Well, I know I made both of the Sarahs come. And Tiffany, like I said, she was invited on the very original one, but how did everybody else find out about it? Anybody want to share?
I'm pretty sure this is Maggie with Mesa Developmental Services. Last meeting was my very first one. I believe that you guys reached out to us. We had another person, Alexander, as our rep, and then she recently moved out of state. So I kind of took over. But I think that you guys reached out to us directly from ADRC, I believe.
Yeah, I believe Rob and I have been doing some outreaching to like strategic outreaching to, invite people that we think should have a seat at this table. So glad that's working. And I'll give people a chance to share if they want to, and then I'll share something else.
Hi, this is Kim, and I work with People Care Health Services. I apologize, I was on with a client, so I missed the very first couple of minutes. But our manager, I believe you reached out to our manager, Miranda, and she invited the few of us that we have on here and thought that this would be a helpful committee for serving our clients and caregivers there at People Care.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so on that note, I was going to mention last meeting, we talked about doing some targeted recruiting from the people that are already participating in this meeting to inviting other people that we think that should be at the table, other, home care facilities, other agencies that serve families, that provide respite, just inviting anyone else that thinks that that could benefit from being and sharing their expertise at this table. We had talked about like how do we get the word out? So one of the things that I had sent out with the minutes, not the minutes, the agenda was the flyer, just a flyer that we had kind of come up with. I had sent it to Rob and Aaron to get some feedback, and I think they agreed that it would capture everything that we're kind of trying to say with this meeting, but I wanted to share it with the rest of the committee and see what your thoughts are. Sharing my screen right now. So this is kind of the flyer that we came up with. If you want to take a couple seconds to look at it, and then let me know what you all think. Is that too much wording? Is that enough? When you're trying to talk to people about you should come to this meeting, it'll be really helpful. Like, does that capture what we're trying to say?
My initial thought is that it really pops. It's very pretty, but there's a lot of wording.
Yes, I had some thoughts about that. I was like, I don't know if this is too much or too little. The second paragraph, I was like, it builds on what we're trying to do, but I'm also like, do we really need it?
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on that?
I agree.
Want to get rid of that second paragraph and just leave which the first paragraph really talks about like the purpose statement that we came up with last meeting, which is just to build collaboration by sharing resources and best practices among respite programs, providers, and caregivers. I'm missing an S. Does that seem like if you were to get that flyer, like you didn't know anything about the committee, you're a professional that's already busy, would that entice you to join this meeting?
What would you all think about? I mean, we've got a good call to action. The first word is join.
Mm-hmm.
And if we added to that first paragraph, caregivers of people of all ages, and take out the second paragraph.
Yeah. And we could also add something like make a difference by joining, the Respite Coalition. I don't know if you all think that would be necessary.
Or strengthen the Respite Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I noticed is
Another,
just the address, it doesn't give the town, and I guess maybe it should, because I could say that could be, I mean, because I'm not from Grand Junction or Montrose, I wouldn't know
Yeah,
where that is.
Good
that
point.
is a, that is a really great point. I definitely think getting rid of that second paragraph will give us more room to add more details, because I'm thinking I will also include the link
regular pool, it's not the river.
for the meeting. Other thoughts on the flyer?
Well, isn't every odd month of May? It's an odd
Oh,
collection of months, so if it was like every other month or every odd month, but May is missing, is there a reason to be May?
I just missed it.
Oh,
Yeah, no, we are supposed to be meeting every other month, kind of what we decided, not too far apart, not too close together. So yes, every other month. Looks like I just missed May.
So when you say when, so if you wanted, because it is a lot of words, instead of saying like when, second Thursday, January, March, whatever, you could do second Thursdays every other month starting in January.
Okay, perfect. I wasn't sure how to word that, so that's what I was like, spell it out, because it's like, does it make sense if I say every odd month? But yeah, I like start every other month starting in January. We wanted to do something that we would be able to use all year round, rather than like putting like, Thursday, July 13th, changing it all the time, so. Any other thoughts? So kind of going along with those notes, I know I'm skipping around a little bit with the agenda. I'll get my talking out of the way really quick. So one of the things that we had talked about that we wanted to address was a place where we can keep all of the resources that we have or that we come up with in this meeting. So we had said, maybe we can use the Google Drive for now, since it's already, we already have that. Our ultimate goal is the Respite Coalition is working on a resource tab and really being the main point, the main website that has all of the resources. So rather than us trying to recreate something, we thought it would be good to just start with something temporary. And I apologize, I am trying to pull up the link so I can share it with you what we have so far. One of the things that, the reason why I wanted to pull it up was because we do have a contact list. And so we hope that, we will give access to everyone to this folder. And so if you do find someone who is interested in joining the meeting and, would like to start joining us, if you can please add her to the contact list, that will help us make sure that we don't miss them when we're sending those invites and those updates. So so hang on with me 1 second. I'm finding the link. All right. So this is the Google Drive. Like I said, we will give you all access to it. I just kind of reorganized the folders a little bit in regards to, there's that contact list. So this is all that we have invited to the meeting right now. If you know anyone else who would like to join us, that would benefit from joining us, feel free to add their name and email, and we will make sure to include them in any other communication.
Sandra, I think you had some chat messages, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, hang on. I accidentally chatted or muted Billy's interpreter. Hang on, one second. Billy, is she still muted? I'm showing her as unmuted. I'm looking at the right number.
Yay, I can unmute now. Thanks. All set.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, we will go back to the screen. So, yeah, this is the contact list. Like I said, it's pretty accessible for everyone. These tabs are always fun. The other things that we have in here, so we would just think we would have a folder for the resources. There's nothing in there now, but again, this would be something that everybody would have access to, that they can drop something into if it's happening. The other benefit of you all having access to the context is if you want to let us know about a resource and you don't want to wait until every other month to share it with us, you can just send a massive email and let us know what's going on. I did ask Sarah for her help taking minutes this time. So my hope is that we'll have an ongoing list of minutes as well, just for people that missed the meeting to be able to access them. And then just different flyers and agendas that can live here specific to the Respite Coalition meeting. So the flyer that I was showing is also here. I will make the changes and then upload it here so everybody has it. And everybody just knows where to access things. Any thoughts, comments, or concerns with using Google Drive as our shared resource folder or anything like that?
If we are currently not on that contact list, should we add our email address to the chat or
Yes,
send something
please.
to? Okay.
Yes, we do have some new people, so please do add if you could give us your name and email, and we will add them to that list. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Well, we can get started with the other parts of the meeting. So one of the things that we kind of had decided that we wanted to do is, again, collaborate in regards to issues around the community, as well as maybe identify and address some gaps around the community. So one of our first topics in the meeting or in the agenda was, is there anything related to respite and caregivers that anybody came across that they're like, I don't know how to solve this? Is there a resource out there for this that we can address as a group? Topics to troubleshoot for the group. Anything? Sarah, have you had any difficult caregiver clients?
Not recently.
That's good.
Can we talk about agency staffing, maybe?
Yeah, what's going on? Take the lead, Eva.
Pardon?
I said, you can take the floor.
Okay, so obviously we at the AAA and Region 10 and the ADRC, we contract with a lot of different home care agencies to provide our caregiver respite. And for a long time, they've been having trouble with staffing. And one of the consistent complaints we get is that caregivers and the people that they care for don't like to have different professional caregivers coming into the home, because that's so difficult, especially for people that have dementias. And so one of the concerns we hear a lot about is, can't we just have the same caregiver all the time? And the agencies are saying, we are having so much time, so difficult at times staffing as it is, that we can't guarantee that there's going to be the same caregiver all the time. And so there's frequent changes in the caregivers that come in and provide care, and sometimes cancellations and those kind of things. And when a caregiver sets up respite and makes plans for that respite, that break that they desperately need, and then it falls through at the last minute, it makes things really difficult. So I think if we could maybe talk about that as a group and see if it's just my agency having that problem, or if it's others, that maybe we could see if we need to address that.
Yeah, any thoughts from any of the agencies?
Yes, this is Aura. I apologize. I have COVID, so I can't show my face. I'm really sick, but I own a home care agency. This is Eva. This is a huge problem, and we're aware that, and who suffers is the clients. And how do we change it? I have no idea. If somebody calls off, we normally we'll ask the client if they want somebody else. And for the most part, they would say, no, I'll just wait for another day. So, but the bottom line is there is not enough staffing everywhere. So I don't know, I don't have a solution. I just, I agree with Eva, this is pretty serious. So how does the respite program fall into it or can enhance it? I don't know. That might be a discussion topic.
We also talk about it quite frequently for residential backup and respite leaves for our clients. And
I'm sorry, whoever is addressing the group right now, I cannot hear them at all.
Yeah.
Sorry, Laura, you want to get closer? Also, because we didn't do introductions for everyone, when you do talk, would you please say who you are and what agency you're with?
I am Laura Sharon. I'm with Aerial Clinical Services. Can you hear me better?
Ariel, you said?
Ariel, yes.
Okay.
She's gonna have to get real close with Sarah, it's fine.
So we also quite frequently talk about, we just don't have enough caregivers in the valley period, but especially for our residential backup and respite. Residential backup, we use just a different name for respite providers. And I think one thing that we've identified as a key that could be beneficial is probably marketing those types of services, and that could be a business or a profession to somebody into the community, because I feel like in general, our community does not necessarily realize that this is a need, and how can we do that? I don't know, but I mean, if you become certified in certain areas, you could definitely make some good money on the side, going to school. So maybe at the colleges, maybe in our workforce centers and whatnot. It's something that could benefit a person in their own career and creating their own career. So I think people just need to know more about it. And how can we do that? I don't know.
This is neat, and I think that's a really good idea. And it might be one of the goals that this coalition could take on is, how can we try and address the workforce issue by just getting the word out there?
And really maybe I target other people than caregivers, like cooks or in the restaurants or housekeepers or retirees, people who didn't think about it. And that kind of thinking out of it works very well for us, I know. And we also introduce more than one caregiver to the clients. We try to tell them you're not going to have one all the time. So at least get them to get used to the thought process. But they are very upset about having to train another person. It's always,
Yeah.
but yeah, target somebody else. There is a lot of people who don't even know about that. When we go to expos and I try to talk to the people who come to the expo, they say, oh no, I don't want to work. But they love the idea of of creating a meaningful relationship with somebody. So the marketing is a great idea. The marketing slant towards
I wonder if you put a slant on it where maybe somebody receiving respite care could do a little testimonial about what
That's true.
means to them. Or
That's true.
getting the care could talk about how much he or she enjoys that time with somebody else.
That's true. I tell you, Hope West, they have 800, 900 volunteers that could do what we do with pain. So how do they do it? They get a lot of volunteers.
Yeah.
So that's true.
Really good at telling their story.
Yeah, and they're also have a testimonial that kind of triggers my memory. I see it on the commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think testimonies are a wonderful thing to do some targeted outreach. I think that would be great, and that's something that I think we could definitely work on. In regards to the volunteers, and again, this is something that we can, again, when we talk about the issues that we're going to address, we're not going to address them tomorrow. But one of the things that ADRC has started before COVID was we got trained on what they call REST training, which it was to train volunteers to provide respite. So that if, because we don't have a lot of respite providers available, to train volunteers that are willing to provide the training, the respite. And so that's something that we can also put on the list for the horizon. ADRC has a lot of the books and has been trained. This is also something that Tiffany was working on as an options counselor before she left. So maybe we can rope her in with St. Mary's still. I think the main thing would be, how do we build a base of volunteers that are able to do that and feel comfortable doing that? Tiffany says she would love to help. So I think that would be a good backup as well, to be working on all of those things at the same time. We do, Tiffany and I have been trained to train volunteers to provide respite. And I think the first thing it would be just trying to figure out how do we build a volunteer base. So maybe gauging the interest at fairs through other different volunteer organizations like RSVP. I know that they're not at the table right now, but we do have a pretty close relationship with them. So we can reach out to them and ask about, do they think we can build a base of volunteers that can do that? And we can go from there. Thoughts on that?
I also wonder if we could perhaps reach out to school districts, to people who work in the special education department, paras, teachers. I know a lot of families who their children's aides will actually come and give them some respite time in the evening or on the weekends. And perhaps maybe those same people would be willing to do that for other people as well.
I think that's a great idea, especially like during the summer when they are off and we have kids that are not going to school and the parents are needing some respite because they're now taking care of them 24/7 and their kids with special needs. So yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea.
I know that for some of our kid providers in Mesa County, they reached out to their expect departments, like that exact same idea. Like for the summer, it's like, don't you want to continue working with the kids that you're working with and make some extra money? I don't think they were successful this past summer with that, but I think it was like a wonderful idea that I think they'll continue to use. And I know they've done job fairs, they go to the colleges, they talk to professors. I know one of them even put an ad in the paper, and I'm pretty sure they like marketed it as like made it, because they were trying to because I think that they had a really big kind of like connection to the younger population with like college kids and things like that. And they were thinking like there has to be some people that may either be at retirement or looking to retire that are wanting to do respite that would be great at it. So I know they marketed the like ad saying, I think they were saying like looking for grandparents who want to provide respite to like children with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I'm not sure if they were successful, but I know that they've like tried different avenues and I know they've put up flyers in like church halls. And I think it's the biggest part is explaining respite in a way that makes it seem fun, because respite is really fun. And I think a lot of people would be really good at it, and they just don't know that it's like an option out there to do.
And I think that's probably a place where we could connect or do both. Where like if they want that extra training, we can say we can train you and give you like through the rest training, we can train you and give you the support that you need. If you have any questions about respite or for you to feel prepared to provide respite. But yeah, like just explaining what it really is. I think respite, it's a term that we all use pretty commonly, that I think in our companies, we know what they are, but like family members, caregivers, they don't know what it is, and they don't really know what it entails. So I think that's a great idea. Maggie, do you know the person that was leading that effort? Do you think she would be willing to join our meeting and talk more about what they're doing and what has worked and hasn't worked?
Yeah, we have a couple of new, this is like just thinking for my children providers that I can send information to, because I do think that they would be a beneficial partner to the team, but I think too, they would like love to be kind of at the table, because they're very just trying to find new ideas of how to outreach I know for one of them, they contacted a bunch of like private owned like cleaning agencies, and then they just kind of roped them into their company. So I think that they like try to be creative, because in our county, Homemaker or any children's service was really struggling with staff over COVID and following COVID. And so I know that they reached out to a bunch of like just people that have their own cleaning businesses, and then kind of roped them in and said, hey, do you guys want to kind of join our team and go underneath this like waiver and fund it? And that was another thing. So I definitely think that they would love to join the team, and I can reach out to them and kind of see if they're interested.
That's awesome. So yeah, maybe we can add a couple follow-up tasks, follow-up items for our next meeting. Maggie, if you could invite them to the table and we can discuss more how their efforts are going and what's going on. I can reach out to our SVP and just see if they think that we could build a base of volunteers. And then I think testimonies from caregivers, if some of the agencies that are present, if that's something that they could work on, finding maybe a caregiver that can give a testimony that she would be okay with anybody using to explain or to just say how meaningful it is to provide respite and what it means for that person. Does that sound like a good plan? If I don't hear no's, I'm assuming yes.
I can work on that too.
Perfect. Yeah. And then Sarah said that she'll ask her clients specifically from the client side of things to start to get some testimonies on how hopeful respite it is for the clients themselves. But I think it would be good for advertisement purpose to get testimonies from caregivers to say how meaningful it is to them and maybe clarify more what respite really is. So they're not feeling like they'll have to do CNA work or stuff like that. All right. Eva, what do you think? You brought up the topic. What do you think on the follow-up tasks?
I think that's a good idea. I think you're on the right track.
Perfect. And then we'll see how much progress we made by the next meeting. Perfect. Any other respite issues, difficult clients that came up in the last 2 months? All right, so I'm gonna take that as a no. The next item in the agenda was just the sharing of resources. Is anyone aware of any resources they would like to share with the group? Anything that's happening in the next 2 months?
This is Eva again. I feel like I'm talking too much, but one of the resources that we found is care.com. And we've been referring some of the clients that don't qualify for our programs to this resource. And they do some screening, but you can go onto the website and put in your zip code, and you can search for providers in your area that can do a bunch of different stuff. So you can filter if you need a homemaker, or if you need help with personal care, or if you're looking for a CNA or an RN or something like that. And it shows pictures of the providers. It gives a little synopsis of those providers and what they charge and those kind of things. So I do think it seems to be a viable resource for people who are seeking some respite care. And for a lot of people that we serve, when we offer them caregiver respite, we ask them, what does respite look like to you? And, we offer a certain number of hours a month, and it's up to them to decide how they're going to use those hours. If they're going to use them all at once, if they're going to divide them out over the course of several weeks. And then we just tell them, if that means it's becoming difficult for you to bathe your father and you want us to do that while we're in giving you a break, we can do that. Or if you want your provider to do the housekeeping while we're in there providing respite, we can do that as well. So I think anything we can do to offer caregivers as much flexibility as possible is really a good thing. And care.com is something we've added to our toolbox to do that.
Eva, do they have private providers, like personal providers, or is it just agencies?
It's not agencies at all. These are all, they're all individuals. Many of them are like retired or semi-retired professionals that just want a few hours on the side.
That's wonderful, because I think that's one of the things that we get calls, and sometimes people are looking for a person that they want to use. There's a lot of people that are looking for like a person rather than an agency, and we don't have a list. So it's really good to know that care.com exists. Tiffany said that they also use it at the hospital when we're trying to help people find extra support. So it looks like Tiffany has also had some good experience with that. And then Eva, you just said that they do some sort of background, or like
what
minimal.
What it says is they do some screening, and I
Okay.
don't know for sure what that means.
Okay. And I think that's just good for us to know. We can tell them that it's, at their own risk sort of thing, but we know that there are people that sometimes are looking for a personal, someone that they can kind of like you were saying, they want the same person, they want to build that relationship, they don't necessarily want an agency. So that's
it's
a good
not something
resource
that we are paying for as the area agency on aging. It's a resource that we're offering to people that may want to pay for it themselves.
Yep.
And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is grandparent respite. Is anybody else providing that? I'm assuming your ADRC is in Mesa County.
Yes. We can use our respite funds to provide some respite for our grandparents. We don't have a lot of people accessing those services, but we can use it if you have any grandparents that are needing assistance paying for camps or some sort of respite over the summer now that they've had their child with disability. So for grandparents, they can access our funding if they're over 65.
It's under the Older Americans Act, it's actually over 55. So-
55, that's right. Sorry, 55.
So Teresa's on the phone and she's with Hilltop Family Resources in Montrose, and they're doing our grandparent respite program here. So if anybody's interested in learning more about how Hilltop and Montrose is doing that program, they've had some really good success with it.
Yeah, and my goal is to find some extra, there's a lot of grants and stuff to apply for the respite, so I will be working with that throughout the year. So it is something that we hope to grow, a respite program. As I mentioned the last meeting, we do have a regular respite program through the Area Agency on Aging, where either the caregiver or the care receiver has to be over 60 to receive respite. But we also did get, aside from the grandparent, like if they're a grandparent taking care of a child with disability, they can be over 55. But we also did receive some funding for respite from the American Rescue Plan. And so we do have currently some respite for any age caregiver or care receiver. Particularly, it's kind of tailored for people that are on Medicaid. So we highly encourage that, but it could be anyone. They don't have to be on Medicaid. They just have to have be caring for someone with a disability. And no children. But the reason why we decided to go with no children is because we do have Mesa Developmental Services who has those that respite program.
Right. And under the Older Americans Act, if an older adult is caring for an adult child who's not 65 or 60 or older, you can also pay for that older adult to receive respite under the Older Americans Act.
Yes. So if anyone needs respite, have them, depending on what area they're at, they can contact us in Mesa County, Eva, we're in Montrose, Delta. And then we do have a partner, ADRC, that serves Garfield and Rio Blanco and other counties. So if you have any questions on how to access respite, let us know. And then the Respite Coalition also has their respite voucher. That is now a client-directed voucher that they can apply for as well.
Megan, have those vouchers been released again?
Or Aaron? Anyone here? I see Erin still in the meeting, but maybe she's not at a point where she can talk. So you could always message us, Erin, if you want to share anything about that. I don't see Megan. I think if you see Megan, that's us. We use her login. So I don't see her in here.
Okay.
Any other resources that people want to talk about, share? Well, I'll go. We are starting a partnership with St. Mary's, and we will be doing another Stress Busters class for our caregivers in the area. We are gonna start on September 7th, I believe. And we kind of decided to do it after hours. We're thinking this will be a group that we're also doing more of the general caregiving, which we often have, parents or working adults supporting their parents that can't quite take off in the middle of the day for work. So we will be doing it from 4 to 6 at St. Mary's. We still don't have a room. We're booking it, but I did, since we're not meeting for another 2 months, I wanted to let you all know that's happening. once we have details, I will be uploading the flyer into the resource folder, so you can go back in there and look for it. But yes, Tiffany, like I said, she used to be an options counselor with us, and so she's still a master training on stress busters. So she will be co-hosting or co-facilitating the meeting with me. And so if you know anyone, any caregivers that could benefit from this, please refer them to us. They can call my direct line, which is on the flyer for Respite Coalition, and we can get them signed up. Laura, not dates, it's starting September 7th.
And how long is the program?
9 weeks. On that note, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Laura, but do you have anything you would like to say about stress busters?
I went ahead into it, I just felt like it was in why, well, it's important to me because I am a caregiver as well as in this industry. But also, so it's something that we can provide to our host home providers and our family caregivers. I so far have greatly enjoyed it. I think it's giving like just even the stuff that I know, I just don't think about when I am stressed. So it's really given me an opportunity to just stop during the week and take a couple of hours to focus on myself and learn or start practicing again something for my own, for my own hair. So I very much enjoyed it so far, and I'm definitely bringing it forward to our executive team to start promoting it to our people within our agency, because I think it's something that's very important. You cannot care for others without caring for yourself. So caregiving is a very stressful job, lifestyle, who we are as a person. So I think it's very helpful.
And we may be asking for also quotes and testimonies, just because we did get the go ahead that we can edit the flyer a little bit more. And we will be adding, kind of some more of those things, why caregivers are finding it helpful. But we'd really like to hear from people that have taken the class and that have found it personally helpful. So, because it's hard to explain what it all is in a flyer. And so, yes, once we have a flyer, I'll send it in an email blast and I'll put it in the resource tab. And we would love to get your help, just making sure that people can access this benefit. Amanda did have a question. It said, will that be available to caregivers virtually as well, or just in person? So this would be just in person. I think I've talked about a little bit about it in the past. We found for a couple of groups that it's just more beneficial in person to really be able to disconnect from the caregiver. The Respite Coalition has been really successful on doing it virtually throughout COVID. Rob, our other member of the Respite Coalition, who kind of started this with us, he was able to do it virtually. That's kind of how he got involved with the Respite Coalition. And so they have been really successful in doing that. And so ADRC is focusing on doing it in-person classes. And then the Respite Coalition has different virtual ones throughout the year. I believe they're in the middle of finishing one up as well. So I will ask Erin, like I said, I'm not hearing from her. I'm not sure that she's hearing us or able to talk. But I will ask her if they have anything planned for anything virtual for caregivers that can't get away. And we'll make sure that's in the resource tab as well. Any other resources anybody has come up across? All right, well, if anybody has anything to share, feel free to interrupt. You can put yourself off mute or put things in the chat. The last thing that was kind of the agenda, which we already kind of did a little bit, I think, is just kind of starting to make a plan on how to address the following needs, which from the last meeting 2 months ago, we agreed that these were all things that we kind of wanted to focus on, which we kind of already talked about identifying some gaps in the community and addressing that. So we already kind of did a little bit of that earlier in the meeting. The digital platform where resources can live, a newsletter, and then information nights and other education for caregivers. And so I wanted to just come back to that to kind of keep those tasks in mind, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to address in the community. Does anybody have any thoughts on where they want to start? What do they want to do first? What do we, as a coalition, think is the most important thing to address first? Thoughts?
Do we need to get our act together more before we have an information night, or are we, do we have enough resources to start with that?
I think it would depend on who we want to do it for. If we're talking about children, I would say we wouldn't be the experts, but I don't know if any other providers or agencies would feel comfortable. If we're talking about older adults, I think we could, with Eva and ADRC being present here in the meeting, I think we could have enough information to do an informational night.
I think getting as many people within our communities together as possible, different organizations, and like each organization doing a booth, and you could really capture both, like a span, because I mean, I don't know, people care, I'm guessing spans a different variety of ages, as well as MDS does, Ariel does, so I think we should definitely gather enough people together, but who would we market to and where?
Yeah.
School's out right now, but
Whoever was speaking last is not speaking up clearly to the microphone. So someone, can you come up closer so the interpreter can hear you?
I was just saying that I think an information line would be a possibility if we could get more people on board, and more agencies on board. I think there's what, 4 of us here, 4 different agencies, 5?
Let's see, we have Comfort Keepers, People Care, Region 10, ADRC, Center for Independence, MDS, St. Mary's.
Okay, there's quite a few, so that would make a nice conference for people.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, we don't have to start doing this if we don't like, sounds like maybe we do want to invite more people to the table first. And make sure that we have a good group where we're not missing anything, you know, like where we're not like, oh, I think MDS could help, but go talk to them. Obviously we have MDS, so that wouldn't be an issue, but nope, I maybe, I'm not sure. So Tiffany was asking, we used to do a caregiver conference annually. The area agency on aging from Mesa County will put that up. I think we may have the list somewhere. Eva, you still do a caregiver conference, right?
Yeah, we were on hiatus for a few years, but we're actually having one October the 6th.
Okay.
In Montrose. It is going to be focused on older adults, however.
Okay. So yeah, so maybe that's we can try to create something. Yes. So Tiffany was asking if we can put the flyer in the shared drive for the October 6th conference. Eva, would you do that for us?
Yes, we don't have a flyer ready quite yet, but as soon as we do, yes, I will.
Perfect. So maybe we can start talking about that if we want to create a caregiver conference here in Mesa County. And, you know, maybe we could do it all span, not just older adult focus. We can see what we would need. And like I said, we don't have to plan something for the next month or so. I think it's just things that we want to start talking about. And yeah, like we said, inviting more people to the table, because we do have a lot of good agencies here. We don't have all of them. Like I think I've reached out to Mosaic, trying to see if they could join. Grand Valley Primary Care, we're still trying to find a representative from there as well. John, who used to be with Comfort Keepers, who's now with Columbine Caregivers, was interested in joining or still participating in this. And so we could get a couple more agencies, right at home, Visiting Angels. I've talked to them a couple of times. I can, continue to ask them if they would want to be part of this. So maybe that is something that we kind of want to work on the future. Maybe, like Tim said, maybe we do need to be a little bit more put together before we do something like that. But I think that will start with inviting more people to the table. And I know that we had talked last month, we spent quite a bit of time talking about like, who do we want at the table? Like, who are we inviting to the table? One of the things was just making sure that we had a good flyer that made sense what we were doing. And that, again, for me to make sure that if people wanted to be invited, that we had a place where you all had access to add your people, and making sure that we are inviting people to the table and also keeping them in the table, not just dropping them from one meeting to the other, because we don't have their contact information. So
I think with a conference for caregivers, it probably needs to be very regional. So I think we could learn a lot from the one that Montrose is hosting, and maybe put a goal together of a Mesa County conference in the spring to learn from the Montrose conference, and then also give us a bit of time to get a few more providers together and just continue to build our relationships during this table.
How long is your conference, if I may ask? Is it a couple of days or?
No, it's gonna be, we're really streamlining this year. It's only gonna be from 1 to 4, I believe. So we've only got 3 speakers this year and no lunch. So we really streamlined it this year. We haven't done it for several years, so. But
the Mesa County one used to be like a day long, like breakfast and lunch and, all of it. And we didn't have a lot of participants. That was the reason why we stopped doing this. We just didn't have a lot of participants. And so, yeah, I would also suggest maybe starting with something shorter.
When is your Beacon Fest? Is it already over?
Ours, yes, it's somewhere in April usually.
Okay, because ours is coming up, I think in September, but that would have been a good opportunity to maybe do a drawing if people would fill out a survey, and we could do a survey specifically about a caregiver conference and what would people like to see if you were to have a caregiver conference. But maybe there's some other event that brings people together.
Yeah.
In particular, that we could do some kind of survey and get a barometer of what people are, what caregivers
you're talking about.
The VA.
I think there's a couple things that we can reach into. Another person that we're missing today that should have gotten the invitation and has participated in other meetings is Amy with a VA. So she has a caregiver group that she works with. She has like 20 caregivers, I think, that she works with. So this is something that I think she could help us with, distribute that survey to specific caregivers that can tell us, yeah, what do you want to see? What would you find helpful? And then the other thing I was thinking of is which that one would be more tailored to our Mesa County local residents. We obviously do have the Respite Coalition where they could reach out to maybe the Mesa County residents that have received their respite and see maybe share the survey with them and see what they would like. And then we also, in regards to a conference, like kind of how you were saying, Beacon Fest, I believe the Daily Sentinel Senior Fair is somewhere in the fall. I want to say October or somewhere like that. So that's something where we could have, you know, caregivers fill out a survey at that time as well.
Well, I was thinking too, because last time, remember when we went to the caregiver at the VA One Source Center, they said they were doing a bigger one in the fall. We should reach out to Amy and see when they're doing that, because that's specifically for caregivers,
Yeah.
and see if they're still doing that and when they're doing that, because we could even do that when we go. We're already planning on going anyways, and seeing when they're doing it to see if that would be beneficial.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. So we can reach out to Amy. Like I said, she is already part of this group. She joined the last couple too. Guessing she just wasn't able to join this one, but we can definitely reach out to her for her support.
And any kind of support groups as well. Whether those be, you know, for adults, stroke supports, Parkinson's, any kind of disability support groups. Because all of those people have caregivers.
Yes. The other person that we're hoping to have at the table is Cheryl Brown with the Single Entry Point Line. We tried to bribe her with lunch to come today. If not everybody knows, and I'm sure Tim won't be against me sharing it, Cheryl is Tim's wife and she works for the Single Entry Point Line. She oversees the children waivers, as well as just the regular Single Entry Point Line waivers. She's been there for years. So we are hoping to have some input from her as well, from the Single Entry Point Line. And in that way, we could probably have some access to some of their caregivers too, if they were okay with us sending a survey. So we could also ask and see if they can provide any support in that way. And Tiffany mentioned Diane Walt in the chat. Diane Walt is the Single Entry Point Line manager. She has a pretty close relationship with the RADRC. So that's something I can definitely ask her if she would be interested in being part or helping plan another caregiver conference. And maybe that will be something that we will make sure that she doesn't schedule meetings for Cheryl at the time she's supposed to be here.
I'm gonna be with them all at 4 o'clock. So I'll mention this to them.
Perfect. Eva needs to run. She just said, let us know if she needs to follow on anything. So bye, Eva. Thank you for joining. Any other thoughts on our caregiver conference? Anyone against it or for it?
I actually just wanted to follow up on something about the Montrose Delta Beacon Fest. It's going to be on September 14th. And I was actually just planning on attending to go and see what the different resources were there. If we have the flyer available by then, could that be an opportunity to be able to hand that out to some of the booths that are there, the people behind there, speak with them and see if they'd be willing to join us and share their resources?
The flyer to invite them to this Respite Coalition? Yes, I will.
Yes.
I will have it by the end of next week, the latest. I can also send it in an email blast, but we'll also put it in the Google Drive.
Okay, great.
This is Aura, and at the time I was very active. There was a committee that met for a whole year to plan that caregiver conference, and we got like over 100 people. It was great. So I'm thinking maybe to start a committee like that, and maybe start banking on Eva's initiatives. And I know caregiver. I sent some of my professional caregivers as well as family caregivers. But this is a big process if we want that to do, and I really missed it.
So from your experience, Orly, does the spring seem too soon?
From my experience, what? I'm sorry.
From your experience, does it seem like too soon to try to do it in the spring?
Depends what you want. I mean, depends in participation. If you get, maybe you can collaborate with the Senior Blue Book, for example. We have meetings, senior meetings every month. Maybe one of them should be the caregiver conference. I'm sure they will advertise and help. So
Yeah.
we have a champs meeting, maybe under the champs, or maybe the Beacon also. I mean, they would have an interest as a private entity to promote that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think with the help of private, and we of course sold booths and stuff like that. Somebody would call people and sold booths. Yeah, it's a big event. I don't know if you want to work hard, if we can make it by spring. If not, but it has to. You have to get moving to motion to make that happen. Yeah, and identify somebody who wants to lead it and all of that.
Yeah, that's some great points, Orly. I think in the committee that you were part of, I think that was, like I said, an all-day thing where they had breakfast and lunch and, 4 or 5 different presenters. So I definitely don't think we would want to do something as big.
Get it started. Also, something that Eva does is she asks the home care agency to donate home care time. So for family caregivers, they'll have a comfort keepers, for example, comfort keepers caregiver for free, so they can come to the conference. And you're talking about stress buster, you can always get speakers. And so I think you can earn enough money from selling booths and stuff like that, and everybody will advertise. And so it's great. It was a great event. And then for a while, there was a big successful conference about senior laws, and that stopped. So maybe we can combine all of the above. People are interested in items related to the law for seniors, Medicare, Medicaid, and so time of the year is important, I think, when people are choosing what program to enroll with Medicare, maybe during that time in the fall, next year in the fall. So all of that elements,
I think the caregiver conference is definitely different than maybe what we were envisioning for the informational night. Like I think for an informational night, we were just thinking an hour talk and just inviting people, not necessarily caregivers. So I think that there would be 2 different topics, but I think it's something that we would definitely love to bring back. The area agency on aging is the one that used to host both the Senior Lab Day and the caregiver conference. So I'm sure we would have their support. Heather.
And they had the budget for it. Yeah, we can make them do that. Diane Walt would be the one. Yes, why not? Dave Norman used to have that at the time, but Diane was there and she knew.
Yep, and Heather is the one that took Dave's role. And so we can ask her. I'm not sure if she has it in the budget this year, but maybe for the fall. That's something we can talk to them about as well. I think that's a great idea. Is anyone interested in being, I guess let me back up. Do we think we need a separate committee to put up a caregiver conference? Do we think we can address it in this committee, in this meeting?
Yes.
Okay, we can keep it as part of the regular meeting. Keep talking about it then from now. And then maybe assigning tasks as needed.
I love that. Exciting.
It is exciting, yes. So I guess one of the follow-ups would be, let's be thinking about what we want. What we think we need to do to take those steps for that respite, for that caregiver conference. And again, I think it's going to come down to also inviting more people at the table, making sure that we have support from other agencies.
I think Champs is next week, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Is it premature to mention something like this at that meeting?
Nope.
That's a great idea.
Both of the Sarahs will be there next week, so I'll make sure that the flyer is ready to go so that we can talk about what we're trying to do with the Respite Coalition and invite as many of our providers to the table as we can.
Yeah.
Perfect. And Champs also is with providers that serve more than just Mesa County. So that's a really good thing if we want to keep it Western Slope. Perfect.
Yes.
Tiffany did have another resource to share. She posted it in the chat. So she just said, looks like this is for people who have caregivers struggling or overwhelmed with what they may have to do, especially after their loved one, experiences an illness. So it looks like it's just an AARP. Oh, okay. It's videos and education or how to provide care. So maybe we'll create a tab of, a spreadsheet of helpful links in that resource folder, and we can pop all of those in there, explaining what it is, and that way people can browse through those. So thank you for sharing that, Tiffany. Awesome. Well, I think that we have quite a few things to focus on. I think that, this group is really engaged and really wants to make some difference in the community. So I'm really glad with all of our conversations. I don't, does anybody have other things that they want to put on the table that think are important to address, or is the caregiver shortage and caregiver conference enough for now?
Yes, totally.
Okay, I think that is enough for now, but just wanted to make sure no one had any other urgent needs. So our next meeting would be in 2 months. We have some follow-up tasks from all of us, which is inviting people to the table who we think they need to be here. And then we will work on testimonies at caregiver agencies. If you could see if any of your caregivers would be willing to give testimonies. We will work on testimonies from clients about what respite means to them. And then I will reach out to RSVP about what they think about getting us a group of volunteers. And obviously that's going to be a lot bigger conversation whenever we work with volunteers. It's like, who will they be under? Will they be under RSVP, under Hilltop, under St. Mary? So it's definitely going to be a bigger conversation, but at least I'll get it started and maybe also invite them to the table for the next meeting.
What date will that be? The next meeting? So I can make sure Cheryl gets it on the calendar and nobody steps on it.
Yes, September 14th.
September 14, wow.
Yep.
September is coming.
No, time just goes by so fast, though.
I know.
Can't believe it's been 2 months since we met already.
I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll give you back 5 minutes out of your day, and we'll be sending some email blasts with some updated flyers, notes, and I will share. So you all will receive a link to the Google Drive, so that you have access to all of those resources, and then make sure you're adding contacts as needed. All right. If nobody else has anything they would like to say, we can end the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.